The cost of everything is up. Inflation has surged to levels we haven't seen in 4 decades.
8.6% year over year.
You have to go to 1982 to find a higher number.
With higher prices on food to gas to rent, inflation impacts everyone.
Whether you're watching TV or standing on the checkout line, signs of record high inflation are unavoidable. In the last year, food prices are up 10%, new vehicles 12.5%, and gasoline almost 50%. In economics, inflation is defined as, quote, persistent substantial rise of prices related to an increase in the volume of money and resulting in the loss of value of currency. In other words, your Snickers bar costs an extra 25 cents. So what's driving the rise of prices? Our Brook Silva Braga gets a crash course.
Jacob Goldstein is a financial journalist known for explaining complicated economic concepts to non-economists.
Right on time.
Hey, man.
Good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
So we pulled him away from his podcast, What's Your Problem?, to take a road trip exploring America's problem with inflation.
It's journalists and cars getting expensive stuff.
I'm ready. Let's buy everything.
Everything, it seems like, is getting more expensive.
A Whopper with a medium fry and an Impossible Whopper with a medium fry.
2326, drive up, please.
Okay, thank you.
Good thing I didn't order a Coke, huh?
Two of the biggest categories jumping in price.
Thank you.
Food and fuel.
I mean, gas is incredibly expensive.
It's extraordinary. It's gone up so much, so fast. And you know, one of the things about gas is you just see it, right? Like it's literally in your face. You know, there's a great big sign, and then you start pumping it and you watch the numbers go up. So it's like extra painful.
And it's expensive because of the war in Ukraine.
Largely, right? Yeah, I mean, Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia's a huge supplier of oil. You know, people aren't buying as much oil from Russia, so that's a big part of it.
Add to that another supply problem: refining capacity lost during the pandemic hasn't fully recovered.
The price of oil, the price of gas, is an input into almost everything, right? You make something in China, you got to get it to the US, you got to buy fuel. In a really simple way, when the price of gas goes up, it pushes up the price of everything else.
But it's not just fuel. The supply of lots of things has struggled to rebound after the pandemic, from microchips to potato chips.
But groceries are another one.
Yeah, huge. And obviously really important, right? Like not something people can not buy.
At Morton Williams Supermarket in New York City, manager Douglas McKinley told us he's never had so much trouble placing orders.
What's hard to stock?
It's across the board. Almost every vendor has an issue.
Is there baby formula on the shelves right now?
No, we don't. We haven't been able to get that.
In just a year, eggs here have almost doubled.
And why are they so much?
Because of the bird flu.
But of all the supply issues contributing to inflation,
I mean, I will say $3.50 seems like a lot for a bag of pretzels.
none are as important to economists as the supply of workers. Right now, for every American looking for a job, there are 2 job openings.
So unemployment is at this historic low now, right? And sort of weirdly, that's a big part of the reason inflation is so high.
It can be hard to grasp at first, but low unemployment is both good for individuals and sometimes problematic for the economy, because it means employers have to outbid each other for the few available workers.
And what shops like this, what lots of businesses have to do is raise wages, right? And the way they can afford to raise wages is by passing the cost on to you, by raising the prices. And so that's what's happening across the economy right now.
Unemployment was low before the pandemic too, but what's different now is the combination of all those supply problems and pumped up demand.
Look, the problem is the economy overheated.
It overheated in part because the government didn't just inject money into the economy at the start of the pandemic, but again last year.
There'll be $1,400 checks.
Approving a record $1.9 trillion stimulus, while interest rates stayed at historic lows.
In retrospect, the government should not have put so much money into the economy.
At the time, one of the few people who warned that stimulus brought inflation risks was former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers.
So I just used economics and said when you have too much demand and not enough supply, you tend to get inflation. And unfortunately, that risk has come home.
Now, Summers has the ear of President Biden.
I was talking to Larry Summers this morning.
And offers a gloomy view of the road ahead. pointing out that every other time unemployment has been this low and inflation this high, the result has been recession.
I hope we can achieve the proverbial soft landing, but it would be a first time if we did.
To contain inflation, he said we'll need an unemployment rate above 5% for several years, an outcome that would mean millions of Americans out of work. It would likely be accomplished by sucking money back out of the economy by raising interest rates. Fed Chair Jerome Powell already announced a hike this month
by 0.75 percentage point.
Summer says we need much more.
It's not too late to bring the situation under control, but we're going to have to accept some real pain and dislocation in order to do it.
And we're not quite there yet. We're raising, but not enough.
But I think we're likely to have a ways to go. I think we're going to have to push interest rates quite far up.
House for sale.
Yeah.
Our road trip with Goldstein ended back in his Brooklyn neighborhood, where the same type of home he bought just last year might not go for quite as much just now.
Interest rates are going up. Interest rates for mortgages are going up a lot. So we expect that means house prices will stop going up so much. In some places, they might even go down.
That should help cool inflation, but economists don't agree if we've turned the corner quite yet.
Has inflation peaked?
I think inflation's more likely to go down over the next several months than it is to go up, but I'm not sure it's down forever. I think it's a mistake to assume that we've seen the worst of inflation.
Do you assume we have not yet seen the worst?
My rule in life is always to hope for the best and plan for the worst.
After 2 years of the pandemic, war, and international strife that brought us here, uncertainty is one of the few things we've gotten used to paying for. For CBS Saturday Morning, Brook Silva Braga, New York.
We certainly have gotten used to uncertainty.
Yes, we have.
Right?
Really, it's incredible what we've been living with over the last 2 decades. But here's the news flash out of that as well. Who knew there was a bird flu?
With the eggs, with the egg prices.
And apparently it's nationwide, yes. And it's impacting wild birds as well as domesticated ones. So thank you for that.
Prices would have been up regardless, but put that on top of it.
Put it on top of it.
What's next? What's next?
Something will be next.
I know.
You know that.